Well, hello everybody. I thought we'd do a quick video on some geometric sequences, right? So a sequence is a string of numbers. It doesn't have to have a pattern, but if it's geometric, it will have a pattern. And the pattern will be that each term is multiplied by the same value, right? So here that value would be 3. Now what we call that value is common ratio. And the letter we use to describe that in formulas is R. R is the common ratio. And so if you ever wanted to find R and you knew 2 consecutive terms, you could find it that way. So this might not make sense yet, but check this out. What n is referring to, as in u sub n is the place value of a term. The place value of, I guess I should put the A in there. So the place value of a term. So like, for example, u sub 2. Well, you see that 2 right there, that means this one. Whereas u sub 4, that would be this one. U sub 5, well, if I multiplied this by the same common ratio, because that's how geometric sequences work, well, that would be it. That would be u sub 5 right there. That would mean that n equals 5. Right? I know that can be a kind of a confusing thing. So if I wanted to find the common ratio here and it wasn't obvious to me and I knew it was geometric, I could use this little formula. See, n and then n plus 1. Well, n plus 1 is 1 more than n, right? So if I happen to know u3 and I happen to know u4, then I could figure that out. So like here, 81 divided by 27, that's 3. Right? So that's a handy little thing that can really save you sometimes. Most of the time you can't use it because they don't give you consecutive terms, but once in a while they do, and if you can pull that out of your hat, it can really save you a lot of headache. All right, so let's talk about the formula. So here's the formula. u1 times r to the power of n minus 1. So this is the formula for geometric sequences, and pretty much every time you're going to do geometric sequences, you're going to use this formula. It's very, very important. The n we talked about, that's the place value. So this n right here and this n right here, they're always going to be the same because we're talking about the same exact thing. So this will find any of the terms. The 10th term, n would be 10, and you just plug 10 in and do the math, right? Okay, so let's take a look at an example right here. Now, it might not be obvious to you, but u1 is actually going to be 5, right? And the reason it's going to be 5 is because if you're talking about u1, well, that means n is equal to 1. And if I put 1 right there, 1 minus 1 is 0, 2 to the power of 0 is equal to 1, and 1 times 5 is 5. You see how that works? What if, though, we wanted to find u4? Well, u4, like this, 5 times 2 to the power of n minus 1. Well, n is 4, you see? So this would be 5 times 2 to the power of 3. 2 to the power of 3 is 8. 8 times 5, 40. So u sub 4 would be 40. See how that works? Not so bad. All right, let's see one that's just a touch trickier. Let's say we had a geometric sequence, right? And we were told for the geometric sequence that the first term was 3, the common ratio was 2. We needed to find 10. All right, we can do this. Let's start off with our formula. U sub n equals u sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. All right, the reason we use our formula is, especially when things get a little trickier, this keeps us grounded. It helps us make use of all the stuff that we've been given so we can arrive at our answer, right? So we have to find u sub 10. So I'm going to put the 10 right there, right? U sub 1, the first term is 3. The ratio is 2. And since I'm finding the 10th term, I'm going to put a 10 right there. So 3 times 2 to the 9th. Well, let's see. I can't do that in my head right now. Long day. There we go. Right? Times 3. 1536. See how that works? It's not so bad. You can handle that. Okay, so Let's do one more example here. Let's say we had another geometric sequence. Let's say we were told that u sub 1 is 1200, and we were told that u sub 4 is 150, and we needed to find r, that's an r, not an n, and we needed to find u sub 6. Okay, first thing first, always write your formula. Keeps you out of trouble. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in this number for u sub 4 right here, and u sub 1's right there, and I'm going to see if I can solve this. Because if I know u sub 4 is here, then I know n is 4. So watch, check this out. U sub 4, I'll write it like this first, equals u sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. So I know u sub 4 is 150. I know u sub 1 is 1200. I don't know r, but u sub 4, well, it's going to be 4 minus 1. See how that is? So then what we're going to get is we're going to end up having to solve this. We're going to take a cube root because this is, of course, 3. So 150 over 1200 equals r to the 3. And if you want to solve and you have an exponent, well, it's going to be like this, right? So I know, not off of the top of my head, but I know that this is 1/8 because I did it a little bit ago, right? So 150 divided by 1200 is 1/8. 1/8, see? 0.125. So what I have is I have the cube root of 1/8 equals r, so 1/2 is r. All right, that's not so bad. So now I can write my formula. un equals u1 is 1200, right, times 1/2. Notice how I'm putting it in the parentheses, and minus 1. Now from here I can plug in, we have to find u6. So u6 is 1200 times 1/2 to the 5, right? 6 minus 1 is 5. So, let's see, can we get this all set up on the camera? Kinda, there we go. All right, so 0.5 to the power of 5 times 1200, 37.5. Yeah, gotta love it. So anyway, that's how they work. One last thing I wanted to mention is this. So we're using repeated multiplication, like right here, say times 3 times 3 times 3. And it might be confusing. If we're using repeated multiplication, why do we have an exponent? Well, exponents are repeated multiplication. That's what an exponent is. And if you look at arithmetic, see how in arithmetic we're multiplying by n minus 1, and multiplication is repeated addition. So if you're repeatedly adding, you multiply. If you're repeatedly multiplying, you add. So anyway, if you're frustrated with these kinds of problems, just take your time, make sure that you write out the formula first, write out your clues, plug things in, just be careful, make sure n is the same as n, and then you can solve it. You got to give yourself some patience and grace, but you can absolutely learn this. Till next time, I hope you're having a great day.